But at the age of 16, I looked at what my parents were doing, working regular jobs. And I was like, I don't want to do this. My brother was working in a gas station. I was working in a hotel, like mopping floors. That was my job. Like, that's what I was doing. I was like, I cannot do this. And through a family member, I actually got a flight for free, sitting where the flight attendants sit. And that was my flight to America, right? So I didn't get a coach. I didn't sit like whatever it is where people sit. I sat where the flight attendants sit. And I was like, at the age of 16 with $200 in a suitcase that my parents gave me, I went to America and started working, pressure washing basketball courts, got gigs cleaning toilets, worked at a Buffalo Wild Wings, flipping the wings in the back. And eventually, I think it was part of the self-realization. I always knew that there was more. So I was always studying. I was always about self-education. I was always reading. And at the age of, I think 19 or 20, maybe a little more, 21, I was doing side gigs. I eventually got introduced with e-commerce and crypto through a series of friends and events, and it kind of panned out.
Yeah. I've done a bit of research. You made quite a bit of money off crypto.
Yes, a lot.
And some other investments as well.
Yes.
So you're good. Would you say that was more luck or like a well executed and planned action?
I think it's a combination of both. This idea of luck can only be perceived as a person that may not have the right information, right? So yeah, I maybe got introduced to the word Bitcoin when Bitcoin was $600. That was lucky, but actualizing and taking action on what I did with that information wasn't luck. So I started studying, researching, buying books on the stock market, buying books on finance, understanding what was this ecosystem, investing money into it. I remember, dude. So in the United States, when you're buying at a restaurant, you get a waiter, you get cash tips, right? So if somebody buys a meal, they have like 10, 15, 20% tip for the waiter. Usually that tip isn't cash, right? That's how it works. Yeah. You get to take that home every single day. You don't have to wait for like a paycheck at the end of the month. That's the cool thing about waiting tables. I never worked a job where I got paid a salary. I was always like, I got to hunt, kill, and whatever I make that day, that's what I have. So I would take that cash, I would go to the ATM, and you get basically your direct cash deposit. So it shows up in your bank account that same day. And I would go to an exchange called Bitstamp, which is an OG exchange. And I would go that same day and buy crypto, right? That's what I would do.
What year was this?
2015.
Wow.
Yeah. Long time ago.
So you were living a very humble lifestyle, and you weren't.
I was sleeping on my brother's couch, paying him $200 a month to sleep on his couch.
Damn, man.
Yeah, brother.
That's smart. But what do you think of the situation with crypto now? Because I've said this before, I've actually not put any money in crypto. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, because when I was about to, that was when it was at its peak and everybody was doing it and it was too late.
That's the exact point, is when the taxi driver's talking about crypto, when your grandmother's talking about crypto, that's when you're not supposed to be doing it.
Yeah.
Everything that is unpopular is because it's not known. And how the markets tend to work is the people that are intelligent, the VCs, the market makers, the hedge funds, the people that actually have money that move the markets, they establish their layers, they establish their market buys, their orders, they build out their portfolios, and then they go to the news anchors, and then they go to the publishers, they go to Forbes, they go to CNBC, and they're like, okay, run this article, run this publishing, because they direct what? Liquidity. So they're the ones that conduct liquidity to drive up the price, and then they exit on that liquidity. So my news was very simple. It was, I think, 2020. I posted on Instagram. I had like 8,000 followers back in the day. And I said, Bitcoin's going to go to the moon. Why? Well, because the Fed started buying assets. So that basically means the Federal Reserve started buying into the market. So they printed money, started dumping into the market. They're driving liquidity. So at that point, everybody that's already positioned is positioned. They use the government, right? And this idea of COVID relief money to drive up the market, print money out of thin air, use that liquidity to boost every single market. You talk the stock market, you can talk crypto, you can talk real estate, everything went through the roof. And everybody that wasn't informed and wasn't positioned, they ended up being the exit liquidity. So the cycle is very simple and it repeats itself time and time again. It's everybody gets positioned early, the ones that understand. there's some sort of liquidity surge, whether it was the Fed printing new money or some sort of great news about market conditions, they run news to bring the newbies in, right? Use their paychecks or their COVID relief money, their check, whatever it is, their stimulus check, because it was crazy. The whole stimulus check was like hundreds of billions of dollars. All that was getting deposited into accounts like Robinhood or getting deposited into was it like Cash App, and people were using that to literally buy and gamble. And at that liquidity exit, most of the big players were out of the game. And once the Fed said we're stopping, we're no longer buying assets, it was literally at the top. You can price chart the bottom of Bitcoin. People are like, oh, it's the bull run. No. I was talking to the head of the Central Bank of Albania. He said, if you correlate the price of Bitcoin or of any market and you correlate it with what I would call the policy of the Fed, it matches the movement of the market. So people think that crypto is its own individual asset class, Bitcoin halving, whatever. And those things are valid, but simultaneously it's driven by not just market demand, but by people that move the markets. And retail does not move markets. Retail is the exit liquidity. So good thing you didn't get out or like get in the first place. But that doesn't mean that there's not going to be another cycle. So
yeah, what do you think the future holds for it?
So, Bitcoin's a little bit of a crazy situation right now. They're having ETF approval. So BlackRock's in, I think Fidelity's in, and a couple other big organizations are filing to kind of get involved with Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is no longer what it used to be. So Bitcoin was this idea of autonomous, anonymous, peer-to-peer transactions and payments, especially in the US. In some countries, it's probably a little bit better. Like here in the Emirates, it's probably better. Or if you're in Hong Kong, you kind of have a little bit more freedom. But in the US, they're kind of cracking down on it. I think it's kind of just like every market, but with a little bit more volatility. So high risk, high reward. And with that high risk, when you don't have a lot, sure, you can do a little moonshot, but you can also lose it. I like to play with it, but simultaneously, there's a ton of scammers in the crypto space. And that